Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering the Eagles' victory over the Commanders. We'll discuss LeBron's triple-double leading the Lakers past the Grizzlies. We will discuss Wemby and Giannis's big games from yesterday. We'll talk about, or technically not 2 days ago because we're past midnight, we'll talk about the favorites in this extremely tight NFC West, going down to the wire. And then we'll react to the USMNT's victory over Jamaica in the quarterfinals of the Nations League first leg today in the Jamaican National Stadium. Before we start off, if you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes the show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment or thoughtful question you wanted to share, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Just use the super chat button at the bottom of this chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your super chat gets read on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We really rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit that super chat button, and let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can always go to the gsmcpodcast.net to tip, donate, or even leave a comment or question there. We really could not do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful and so grateful to have you as part of our community. We do have to start off though with the you can't say commanding victory, but the Eagles' victory over the Commanders. Came from behind to do it. They were down 7-3 at halftime. They were trailing 10-3 late in the third quarter. They were trailing 10-6 at the top of the fourth quarter, but they were able to turn it up in that fourth quarter. They only managed 6 points in their first 3 quarters. They managed to get 20 points in that fourth quarter, 3 touchdowns, including that a missed kick by Jason Elliott, to get the victory 26-18 over the Washington Commanders. And I do have to say the big turning point in this one was that infamous moment, that fourth down moment where Eagles just took the lead with a touchdown from Saquon Barkley. They're finally able to get there, start to control the line of scrimmage like they have in games in the past. They get a little bit of control, get that touchdown. Washington get the ball back. They're driving down the field. They're down at the Philadelphia Eagles 27, or is it 27? Yeah. They're at the Philadelphia Eagles 27. They're driving. It's 4th and 2. They're down to 8 minutes left. They have an opportunity that they can take the kick and take the lead and give the ball back to Philadelphia with their defense that's held them to 12 points so far throughout the duration of the game. But this, instead of just kicking it, Dan Quinn and decides to go for it in that moment in 4th and 2. They decide to go. It's a little bit of a messed up play. The guard is trying to pull. He runs into another guard who's pulling the other way. I didn't really understood the play design there. Both guards, or the right guard was pulling one way while the left tackle was trying to take his space and was trying to get his man, and they ran into each other. A Philadelphia Eagle player was able to get in there and lowered ruined Jaden Daniels' momentum entering the corner, and then and they're able to get the big stop there. It wasn't even particularly close on that 4th down, and then you give the ball back to Philadelphia Eagles team, and they're able to get that big play big play. I believe it was to Dallas Goedert down the sideline, who actually ended up fumbling the football, but it ended up getting recovered by a Philadelphia Eagle. And then, a few plays later, Saquon Barkley, second touchdown of the game. And by the way, the Commanders did really well. I believe there was a point where he had like 16 carries for 54 yards or whatever, something of that sort. But in that fourth quarter, he was able to turn it up. He had 2 touchdowns. He had another 40 or so yards. No, not 40. He had 84 yards, I believe, on 12 carries. He played a really, really good, fourth quarter. They were able to control the line of scrimmage. They were able to dominate the line of scrimmage, get the power run game, get the outside zone working. They were able to get a touchdown also on one of those infamous quarterback sneaks. I forgot the term they called them. What the Eagles called their quarterback sneak. There was a term for it. It's mistaken. It's mistaken. The tush push, or the brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it. They were able to get that going, and they were really able to dominate that line of scrimmage in that fourth quarter in a way that they weren't able to do in the first 3 quarters. That offense struggled in the first 3 quarters. They really did. They only managed 6 points. They couldn't control the line of scrimmage, and it made things more difficult for Jalen Hurts, who didn't have the greatest of games. And I thought overall, the Commanders did a really, really good job defensively, going up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, limiting both of those to a combined 74 yard or 84 yards. That's really, really good. Goddard, he broke that big one later on, but apart from that, he didn't have much as well. There was that also. By the way, I talked about Saquon, his big fourth quarter. He also had a pass play that opened things up for Philadelphia. This was back when they were down 10-6. It's third down. Another one of those big game-changing plays. It's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. Jalen Hurts checks it to Saquon. Saquon is able to beat the man that was guarding him, the linebacker that was guarding him one-on-one. He couldn't make the tackle. Then everybody, and then on, it was just Saquon with a lot of space to run, because everybody has their back turned. They're playing man-to-man, and when you're playing man-to-man, you don't realize the ball's been checked down. And then when you do realize, Saquon is, already 20-25 yards down the field. It ended up being a big play that got Philadelphia into the red zone, and then it led to a touchdown on that possession to open things, to start, to regain the lead for Philadelphia. And once they regained the lead, then they never gave it up. So and I thought Washington, they also played some good football. Defensively, I thought they were really, really good in this game until the fourth quarter, in which they got dominated. But again, complimentary football was not there. That fourth down incident, the 4th and 1, the 4th and 2, and then on top of that, not being able to bail out the team, because the team, Washington, they played really, really well defensively for the first 3 quarters. In that fourth quarter, though, they just got completely manhandled in the line of scrimmage. That's what I say, complimentary football, not being able to bail out your offense that made a mistake. They make a mistake, yes, that offense does, but they still have Philadelphia pinned back at the 25. But Washington, they just couldn't stop them in that fourth quarter. They just could not stop them in the fourth quarter. I thought Philadelphia Eagles defensively also kept them in the game, and they deserve credit for that. Philadelphia defense has been a defense that's we were critical over earlier this year, and especially how last year ended. But they're turning it up. They kept them in the game. They did a great job, Terry McLaurin, going up against Terry McLaurin, limiting him to one reception for 10 yards. That's absolutely brilliant. The Eagles corner, the rookie corner, he did a really good job on him. His Quinyon Mitchell. Quinion Mitchell did a really, really good job when he was matched up against Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin ran 20 routes against Quinion Mitchell, didn't get targeted a single time. Didn't get targeted a single time. That's how that's lockdown. That's lockdown. By the way, Quinion Mitchell, I'm looking at his statistic sheets. Wide receivers going up against him this season haven't had much success. CeeDee Lamb, 1 catch for 5 yards. Jamar Chase, 2 catches for 19. Malik Neighbors, 1 catch for 9. Amari Cooper, 1 catch for 10 yards. 2 catches for 19 yards for Mike Evans. 2 catches, 23 yards for Chris Olave. He's been absolutely brilliant. He is a very, very, very good cornerback, and is someone that this Philadelphia Eagles team can build around, because that secondary was a weakness last year. That secondary, that linebacking core was also a weakness last year. Definitely, this team overall is much improved from that team last year. There's no two ways about it. I've been very, very impressed with them, and they kept they kept that Philadelphia's team in this game despite that offense being lackluster. And this is a huge win for Philadelphia because, you're in the NFC East, and these NFC East games could always be tricky. You're picking up a division win against the only team that it can legitimately battle for you in that for the NFC East. You put your lead firm. You put yourself in a firm 2-game lead over Washington with a tiebreaker advantage right now. Now, Philadelphia does have to go to Washington later on this season. I believe that game will be in week 15. Yeah, week 15. Philadelphia, actually, they close off the last 3 games of the season. Division game against the Commanders, division game against the Cowboys, division game against the Giants. So that's going to be something to watch. But yeah, big win to go 2 games above Washington. And I think the experience was a difference in this one, most definitely. And I said this before the game yesterday that I'm leaning Philadelphia to take home this division, to take home this game specifically because of that experience factor. And Eagles, they did good getting the win because next 2 games they play the Rams, which can be a difficult team to play. They also play the Ravens, and they also have the Steelers a few weeks later. So getting this one is very, very important. They continue to ride their momentum into the right way, and I'm looking forward to seeing that Eagles Rams game, by the way, next week, depending on if we can see the Rams bounce back this week. I think that's going to be a really, really good game, and I'm very looking forward to that one. As far as Washington this season, anything you get this season is a bonus. You have a rookie quarterback, and the fact that they are now they're 7-4, but the fact that they entered this game in 7-3 was, it's been a success, of course. So there's context to this, but this loss was avoidable. If you could get that offense going, look, Terry McLaurin has 1 reception, 10 yards. Okay, he's going up against a really good quarterback, but 1 reception for 10 yards. He didn't get enough targets. This is your number 1 guy. Sometimes you just get him the ball just to get hot. If you have to throw him a screen, if you have to do this, if you have to do that, just get the ball in his hands. This is your playmaker. There's a few moments where there was a few times that they could have attempted a shot downfield and they didn't. I didn't understand that why they played a very conservative game. Washington did, and then very, very quickly it got away from them in the 4th quarter because Philadelphia scored. They went down the field. They couldn't get that 4th down, and Philadelphia scores again, and now it's like game over. And it could have been the other way around if you had a little bit more of an aggressive approach in that first half, in that 3rd quarter, especially from an offensive position, because that defensive performance through 3 quarters was good enough. Now look, I can't say Commanders played well defensively because you could show up for the first 3 quarters, but if you get blasted the way that they did in that 4th quarter, it's always unacceptable. But I think overall, as a unit, as in the whole entire game, I thought the Commanders' offense was pretty lackluster, and I don't think Jaden Daniels was a problem. He did throw the interception. I thought he played an overall decent game. It's never difficult to go away to Philadelphia in that hostile environment in an NFC East battle. But yeah, overall, you know, you lose to the Saints to the Steelers in a tight one. You lose in this one. You have the Cowboys and Tennessee and the New Orleans Saints coming up. So you have an opportunity there to rack up some wins if you're the Commanders team. And you're still not in a horrible position when you're, when you talk about winning the NFC East, well, there's a 1.5 game gap, technically not a 2 game gap because Commanders still haven't had their bye week, so they played a game extra. There's a 1.5 game gap, basically almost 2 game gap. That's going to be a little bit difficult to overcome. But if you're talking about, the battle for the wild card rounds, you're still in a very, very firm, good position to be in that range. So, look, it's not all end of the world scenario if you're a Commander. Show break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss LeBron's performance against the Grizzlies.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed the Eagles' victory over the Commanders. We move on to react to LeBron's triple-double, which is enough to put the Lakers past the Grizzlies as they came back in that fourth quarter. They were able to hang around there, and they were able to get it done. LeBron James, though, aged at the ridiculous age of 39 years old, Gonna be 40 with a month and some change left. December 30th. Just went out and dropped 35 points on 13 of 22 shooting, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 from 7 from 3, and yeah, he's just a ridiculous, freakish human ball of nature. I mean, at age 39 to do what he did, you're going up against a John Morant-less Grizzlies team, so I don't think the win is as impressive as we should make it out to be. But let's say John Morant was playing, he's not the guy that's gonna be tasked with slowing down LeBron. 35 points, 14 assists, 12 rebounds. A 35-point triple-double. And it's not a weak triple-double. 14 assists, 12 rebounds. Those, the 20, 10, and 10. No, this is a proper triple-double on all facets of what a triple-double is supposed to be. He was pushing the ball up the court and getting guys involved. He was getting to the basket. He was hitting shots. Obviously, the rebounds almost come to you, just box out and get to the ball. but he created a lot of open opportunities for players. He was attacking the basket as LeBron always does. He's the greatest driver of the basketball in the history of basketball. That especially from what I've ever seen, there's never been a player, even at this age right now, that can attack the basket that the way LeBron can. It's just if LeBron puts his head down and says, I'm getting to the basket, 99 out of 99 times you're going to have to foul him. Now, early on his career, that would have been a viable option because LeBron hasn't been, he started off as a pretty poor free throw shooter. In fact, his career free throw percentage is, I believe, in the 70s, and if you taken 73, and if you taken how many free throws that he's taken in his career, that's an awfully amount. 73 is not that great. That's an awful amount of points that he's left off the table by missing free throws. But his free throw percentage right now is good. Is very, very good. Like for his standards, he's shooting. I had the number, but I can't find it. Yes, okay, he is currently shooting 79%. That is the best he's ever shot. Obviously, this is only through 11 games, but if he were able to maintain this throughout the season, that'd be his best ever. And his 3-point percentage right now is the best it's ever been as well, with him shooting 45.9%, damn near 46%. Now, obviously, this is through 11 games, and these statistics are subject to change. But I just want to put into context how age 39, on the verge of being 40, he is doing some things that he's never done at this level, and that's just absolutely phenomenal. It's a testament to his greatness and his longevity and his ability to adapt. Nobody talks about LeBron James and how he's been able to adapt thoroughly throughout the years. This is a LeBron James that entered the league. In terms of his 3-point percentage, he shot in his rookie year 29%. Then he was always floating around that 33, 34, 35% for a majority of his season, for his career. This is a LeBron James now. In the last season he shot 41% from three. This season so far he's been 45.9. The way he's been able to adapt to where the league is going, he's been able to improve his game. It's just a testament to his hard work and his determination to be the best that he can be. And we know how much he takes care of his body and all that, and how he's still at a crazy, freakish, athletic freak of nature, even at this age. But overall, it's just, when people say like they don't have him in their top like 5s or even 8 or even 7, 8, it's just ridiculous. And I'm talking about current NBA players. It's ridiculous to me, because you're telling me, look, a lot of people, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, great NBA player. He's amazing. This season averaging 27.9 points a game on 50% field goal percentage. He's been really, really good, and he's been the best player on a OKC team that's been the best team in the league up to this point. Yes, I can't take that away from him. But you're telling me you put LeBron, replace Shai with LeBron on that OKC team. They're not getting past those Mavericks last year? You're telling me they're not getting past those Mavericks? Are you telling me that? I would disagree with you that on an extreme level. I would also go as far as saying I think you replace LeBron James with Luka Doncic on that Mavericks team last season that played the Celtics. I think that series actually ends up being a series instead of that crap show that we saw of the NBA Finals last season. I think we would have had a legitimate final. Now, I'm not going to go as far as saying they would have won Boston with LeBron, because Boston was crazy. Boston, that's one of the most, the best teams ever created in terms of just pure talent in one roster. It was a team with Kristaps, with Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Jason Tatum, they went deep, Drew Holiday, I just named five damn near elite players on one team. So I'm not saying, LeBron would have been enough, but it would have been a way better of a series than we saw last season. And now the Jokic one, you got me there. Jokic one, I can't really make that much of an argument there. I'd lean Jokic over LeBron. But let's say you put LeBron for, well, this one doesn't really work because he barely plays. But you're serious? People on a consistent basis put Joel Embiid over LeBron. For me, that's just ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. And a lot has to do with the fact that Joel Embiid was not available. Well, guess what? That's a big part of, being a great NBA player. Being up there in the rankings, you got to be available. Joel Embiid is never available. Joel Embiid is never available. And what LeBron is doing right now, I think he is the most underrated player in the league. People want to look at his old age and some drop-offs in certain games where he had a pretty poor game earlier this season when they took on who was it? The game is I think it was the Suns, where he had 11 points in game 5. In that game where they lost to the Suns, where they lost by 4. There's certain games that you might see like that, but then there's games that we got last week. And you know what really proved to me? Okay, LeBron is they're still one of the best and underrated. His performance for Team USA. He was still the best, most important guy for that Team USA men's basketball team this summer. And this was a Team USA basketball team with Steph Curry, with Kevin Durant, with Devin Booker, with Jason Tatum, with Drew Holiday, with Joel Embiid, with Bam Adebayo. It was a super team of super teams, and they were still heavily reliant. Now, Steph Curry in that semifinal and that final, especially late games, he was very, 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 very important, and he was the best players in those 2 games, yes. But throughout the duration of the Olympics, throughout the duration of the pre warm-ups to get ready for the Olympics, LeBron James was their go-to guy in through the duration. He was the number 1 guy on the team, and it was that for a reason, because LeBron James is still one of the best. Even now, he is still one of the best. There's nobody that can pass the ball the way he can. Nobody, no point guard in the league. He is the best passer in the basketball by far, even right now. Nobody can create open shots better from teammates. Nobody can make a pass out of nothing the way LeBron James has. Nobody gets teammates in a better position to score the basketball than LeBron James does. He's the best creator in the National Basketball League, National Basketball Association. It's not even close. He's the best passer. I'd also go say he is the best driver in the NBA right now. When he has a full head of steam and he puts his head down and he goes full train to the basket, nobody has a chance to stop him unless you have a guy like Drew Holiday guarding him on the perimeter, trying to, slow down his momentum heading to the basket, and then you have one Biyombo under the rim. If you do that, okay, then maybe you got a chance. But I'm talking him putting his head down, nobody can stop him. Your only chance is to foul. Your only chance is to foul even now. And people want to overlook that because, he's age 39 and he's a la capper, la this, la that. Anything, people just want to say things to. No, he's still one of the best. He's still one of the best. And by the way, this Lakers team, which I didn't really do much analyzing of this Lakers team, they started off 7-4, and I wasn't the biggest JJ Redick fan, and I still don't necessarily believe that he is the reason why the Lakers are better this season than they were last season. But over the past few seasons, it's been a very, very long time that the Lakers have started off this good to a season. 7-4, which is not even that great of a start statistically. But if you compare Laker teams in the past, they have really had rough starts to the season. And the fact that they started off 3-0 and that they've now are 7-4, it gives me signs that this team is a team that actually has a chance to do something, because we haven't seen the Lakers teams in the past start this way. So I'm thinking that there's something better coming, that there's something more coming. If I'm a Lakers fan, that's the way I'm thinking. The way Anthony Davis is playing, if LeBron James can, pick and choose his moments to have games like what he had yesterday in the regular season, and can have this sustained level of play in the playoffs when it matters, and then you have Anthony Davis go in, and then you can see what obviously I love Austin Reeves. I think he's a closer. I think he's fearless. He had a big game against the Grizzlies as well. Hachimura, depends on what Hachimura we get. Dalton Connect, that can be a big X factor. Last game he had 19 points. I'd like to see throughout the season how he develops, how he fits in here. And then D'Angelo Russell, that's somebody I think in the trade deadline could be moved for somebody that we can bring in, that the Lakers can bring in to be, more beneficial as it is, because there is the whole lack of effort things. When D'Lo is on it, D'Lo can be a really, really, really important player for this Lakers team. But when D'Lo is not D'Lo could single-handedly tank this Lakers team, and that inconsistency is very, very dangerous for a team trying to compete for something. So, if I'm the Lakers, I have potentially 2 first-round picks, 2 future first-round picks that I can use to the trade, and you also have D'Angelo Russell. You got to make the salary cap work and all that, and who knows. But if you can get somebody in here that can make a better impact, and, the highs of D'Angelo Russell is actually really, really good, but the lows is really, really bad. So maybe you don't get somebody that can get you the highs of D'Angelo Russell when he's on it, but you can get that, that heavy medium where, you don't get the great performances from D'Angelo Russell, but you don't get those stinkers as well. You get somebody that's just more consistent, and consistency is important, especially from role players when you're talking about a team that's trying to compete to make a deep playoff run. So, I'm looking forward to see how the Lakers continue on with the season. Short break here coming up, but when we come back, we'll react to Wemby and Giannis's big games from yesterday.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we reacted to LeBron's triple-double leading the Lakers past the Grizzlies. We move on to react to 2 players having huge games. I say yesterday, but technically we're past midnight, so it's not yesterday anymore. It's technically not 2 days ago. But 2 big games that occurred on November 13, or 2 players that had some big performances. You go to Victor Wembanyama, who was able to drop a 50-burger against the Washington Wizards. Take it or leave it. We know what the Washington Wizards are, or more specifically what they aren't. But Spurs was able to get that victory and get themselves back to 500 with a 50-burger from Wembanyama. And then Giannis was able to get 59 points as they beat the Detroit Pistons. Now, again, take it or leave it. We know what Detroit Pistons are or what they aren't, but But Detroit Pistons have a better record than Milwaukee Bucks this season, which shows what's going on with Milwaukee. I believe Giannis had 22 of their 24 first quarter points. He finished with 59, had 14 rebounds and 7 assists in 44 minutes. He's just crazy, and it took that overtime effort to beat the Buccaneers, to beat the Detroit Pistons. When Biyama, he had the 50 within regulation, so he didn't need overtime to get that. But they were both close games that came down to late moments. So they're two great players. Let's go with Giannis's performance first. For me, it was almost more of a negative, at least from the Bucks' perspective, this one, because you really need 59 points in a Himalayan effort from Giannis Antetokounmpo that, first of all, his 22 points even kept you, in that first quarter, even kept you alive in this game against a Pistons team that are entering 4-8. Keep in mind, this game is played, you're playing this game at home as well in the Pfizer Forum. You're playing this game in Milwaukee. You needed 22 points from Giannis to even stay in this game in that first quarter, 22 out of the 24 points. And then on top of that, you needed 59 points to scrape a victory in overtime. Clock's ticking on Doc Rivers. Clock is ticking on Doc Rivers, They've been pretty horrendous this season, and they had a really bad end to last season. And, I'm just seeing Doc Rivers in his post-game pressers. It's just, I don't know. And this is Doc Rivers. I had so huge respect for as a head coach, especially in my early days of being a novice, being an NBA fan. But yeah, it's not. It hasn't been good enough. It has not been good enough. And Milwaukee, they need to figure out. As far as Giannis, again, he's a great player. You know what I mean? He's a ridiculously great player. Giannis Antetokounmpo is, and again, I talk about LeBron James not being able to stop him going to the basket, but who's a close second to him? If you give him room to penetrate the lane, and he can get he can penetrate the basket with force, it's pretty hard to stop him from getting there too, because he can dunk over you, he can finish over you. He was 21 of 34. Majority of those points came in the paint. He was efficient. He shoots 61% this season because a lot of his buckets come from under the rim, come from being bunnies. He's a very, very efficient player. What I like about Giannis is that he doesn't have the greatest ability. He's only shooting 22%, but he doesn't chuck it from three. Players, even when they don't have the ability to shoot, they tend to shot chuck. And Giannis, he does not do that. He realizes what his strengths are and what they are. And I admire him for that. And I admire him for taking advantage of what his greatest ability is being able to attack the basket, living under the rim, and being a menace in there. And 22 out of the first 24 points is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. I really wouldn't want to know where this Bucks team would be without Giannis. And when they make when I hear the reports about, Giannis, potentially might get traded if this Bucks thing doesn't figure out, maybe Giannis will go in and hand a trade request. But, you're thinking now, why shouldn't he? He doesn't want to rot away his career, rest of his career in Milwaukee. He's 29 years old at the peak of his prime. He wants to be playing in those big games and those championship moments. And, I really like to think, what if Giannis never won that championship? Because let's be for real. KD's foot is like, a centimeter back. It completely changes the whole notion of basketball history. Giannis never gets that ring. Brooklyn probably win that ring because I believe Kyrie was going to be able to make it back for that next round, for that conference finals, and if not then definitely for the finals. And I believe either way, if they would have played the Hawks, which I think Brooklyn Nets would have managed to got past the Hawks, and then if they win the championship, the Nets, Katie and them, they're still probably Brooklyn Nets, but obviously that's revisionist history. Bucks won it, Giannis got his ring, but to think, maybe if they didn't get that ring, wow, Giannis's position, well, Giannis's up to this point, Giannis would be almost Aaron Rodgers. Wembanyama, he was able to get 50. He did it in a different fashion. Not, he attacked the basket a lot, but majority of his points came from 3-pointers. He scored 32 points off threes. He was 8 of 16, 50% shooting from 3. And yeah, look, I love Wembanyama. I think he has a very, very smooth stroke, and to get 50, he's been ridiculous. He's averaging so far 22 points a game on 47% field goal percentage, 34% from 3. Not great, but I did expect a little bit of a bigger jump from his rookie season. His point average has only gone up by 0.6 of a point. His field goal percentage is around the same. 3-pointer got a little bit better, and rebounds is about the same. I expected to see a little bit of a bigger jump as he got more adjusted into the league. And what I didn't expect, I thought we would start seeing him, we would see him attack the basket more and live more under the rim and play like someone who's 7'4" or whatever ridiculous height he is. And yes, he's not the most beefy player, but to take advantage of you being 7'3", 7'4", you don't really need that muscle. You could shoot over people, and you could still play under the rim and still be effective, because you wouldn't need to, move them off your spot. You'd be able to just shoot over them, and we don't see that a lot. This is a dude that loves to settle for threes. I mean, he had 16 threes last game. He had 12 the game before, 9 the game before. He had 13 against the Jazz, was 4 of 13. Sometimes he gets a little bit too 3-ball happy and mid-range happy when he could be attacking the basket more and being a whole lot more effective if he were to live under the rim just a little bit more. And I don't want to criticize him highly because, well, I still think he's a great player, and he has a potential to, really be up there. But it's something that he does need to figure out, to not be way too reliant on the 3-point ball, not be way reliant on the mid-range, and sometimes just live under the paint. And, if you're guarding someone who's 7'3", when you see him shooting from 3-4, steps away from the 3-point line, you're relieved at that shot because, well, that's the only thing you could do. Let's say he wants to go in under the paint. You're not going to be able to contest the shot under the paint. You're not going to be able to contest the shot, period. So the further away it is from the basket, the better chances you have of him missing. So, I believe the more times he shoots threes, the more times he gives, the defenders a little bit more relief. That's the way I see it. But overall, great performances from both players. They're both tremendous players, and I look forward to seeing them face off each other. Last year when Wembanyama played Giannis, we had a really big showdown, and we had big games from both. I'd like to see that again. I'm very looking forward to it. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss the NFC West.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
before the break, we discussed Wemby and Giannis's big games from yesterday. We move on to react to this very, 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 very tight NFC West. Should I say very again? Extremely tight NFC West, which currently has the Cardinals sitting top with 6 wins and 4 losses. 49ers sitting second with 5 wins, 4 losses. Rams 4 wins, 5 losses. Seahawks 4 wins, 5 losses. So all teams have played 9 games besides Arizona that's played that 10th game that puts them half a game ahead of the Niners. Combination of playing that extra game and getting that victory in that game, and also they have the tiebreak over the Niners because they've beaten the 49ers this season, and they also have a 2-0 division record with wins that they got over the 49ers and the Rams, and now they are on their bye, so the 49ers have a chance to, if they can beat Seattle, they'll be level with Arizona in terms of record, but the division record, 49ers Cardinals will have the tiebreaker because of head-to-head number 1 and the division record with them being 2-2. And if the Niners take care of the Seahawks, it will be 2-2 for the Niners, while the Cardinals are 2-0 in the division. And by the way, speaking of Cardinals in division games, they play Seahawks twice in the next 3 weeks, so we'll get to know a little bit more. But just speaking of that NFC West, it's very, very tight in there. Seahawks are coming off a bye week. The 49ers taking on Seattle off of a bye week, which is the 3rd out of 4 opponents that the 49ers will face this season coming off a bye. That's ridiculous schedule making. At Roger Goodell, middle finger to you. I can't do it right now, but middle finger to you as a 49er fan. How can you, and I know he doesn't decide it. There's obviously schedule makers, and I'm sure AI isn't involved with that in the process. I don't know exactly how that goes. But how can the 49ers get 4 teams that are coming off a bye? That's ridiculous. But that's not the conversation to be had here. The Rams, they had that win streak going with wins against the Vikings, Seahawks, Raiders, Vikings, Seahawks, but then they had, in my opinion, a really bad loss against the Miami Dolphins team. Against the Dolphins team, that's not the greatest team defensively, but the Rams couldn't score a single touchdown at home and lost to a Miami team that entered that game 2-6. I thought that was a really, really bad loss for the Rams in a tight NFC West. I think those are the sort of games that you have to take care of. Especially because I thought the momentum was with the Rams. I was very surprised at that. And now they're sitting 4-5. And but the thing is, within the division, they are 2-1. They beat the Niners, they beat Seahawks, and they had that really bad loss to Arizona. So they're still in the mix of it. Seattle, they're still in the mix of it as well. Thing though, Seattle has Geno Smith, and they have Geno Smith, and I'm not a big fan of Geno Smith. That last game that they played against the Rams, I think he single-handedly lost them that game. I think he's been pretty poor in a lot of games this season. I thought he had a really good game against the Lions, and he's good for a good game here and there. But overall, I thought his season he's been poor, and I just think that offense is not dynamic enough, specifically coming from that quarterback position, and it's a team in work in progress. I think defensively they've struggled this season in certain moments, giving up 31 to the Bills, 36 to the Niners, 42 against the Lions. But then they have these certain masterful games against the Seahawks and against the Rams. Honestly, I thought throughout the duration of the game they were arguably the better team. They just couldn't finish. They couldn't finish in the red zone. They turned the ball over twice in the red zone. One ended up leading to a pick six, and these moments led to overtime. And in overtime, the Seahawks couldn't take advantage when they got the ball, and then the Rams, they got that touchdown. But if you have, sometimes I like analyzing games in terms of duration of the game, which, I can understand why people would think it's wrong, because who wins wins and who loses loses, and you have to execute to win at this league. If you dominate the game, it doesn't mean crap. But I thought Seattle was the better team in that Rams game. I just think Rams just executed better and Seattle didn't execute. But with Geno Smith, I don't believe in the Seattle Seahawks team. The Rams will always be a team that I believe is a legit contending team when you have Sean McVay and and Matthew Stafford, when you have that head coach quarterback partnership that is extremely talented, you can't count them out. But I thought that loss against Miami was pretty poor. But we'll see. They have an opportunity now to bounce back against New England. And if they can get their 5-5, we'll see what they can do with the duration of their season. They have the Eagles, Bills, Niners still yet to play, Arizona as well. So not an easy schedule for them. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to them. As far as the 49ers, look, they're now 5-4 for the first time since week 1. They have a winning record. They have some difficult games coming up. So, they play Seattle this week. And then after that, they got Packers, Bills. They still have the Rams. They have Miami, Detroit, Arizona. They have some games. But the 49ers have proven that they can go on these crazy runs. It's just whether or not they can play better executional football, if they can improve the special teams, if they can finish in the, they need to finish in the red zone, improve special teams, and even defensively, I think it's been better than what we've seen from earlier this season. I think they're starting to be a little bit more better, and I thought this 49ers defense showed some really, really good signs when they were that they were progressing from earlier this season, when they were able to keep that Buccaneers team out of the end zone at the end, held them to a field goal, and gave the ball to Brock Purdy in a tie game with a chance to lead that game-winning drive. 49ers defense has been collapsing earlier this season. This time around, I think in the last few games, they've shown us that they've been able to get the stop when necessary. But the special teams woes have to go away in the red zone. The red zone efficiency has to improve. If this 49ers team wants to go on that run, they have to improve, because despite them, as I said about Seattle going up against Rams, despite them playing much better than their opponents, dominating the game in terms of average yards per play and yards during the game and all that, they're not finishing in the red zone, and they're giving up bad field position in special teams. They're missing field goals. They're giving up fakes. They're just doing everything they can in the special teams facet to ruin the game for them. That these games are coming down to the wire against teams that they should never come down to the wire. The 49ers should have absolutely smacked the Cowboys. They were they were way better than them, but they kept the Cowboys into that game. I'd say the same thing about Seattle. I'd say the same thing about Arizona. Arizona had no business winning that game against San Francisco. I'd say that especially about that Rams. The Rams collapsed. And the Arizona collapse was horrible. I thought the Buccaneers collapse was pretty bad too, but they didn't end up collapsing in that game. They ended up, getting that victory. There's been games this season that the 49ers just can't close, and it has to get better if they want to, challenge. I think this NFC West has a potential to come down to the wire week 18. 49ers going up to Arizona, or I don't know, geographically it's east to Arizona, I guess. Going east to Arizona to take on the Arizona Cardinals at Glendale Stadium, State Farm Stadium, whatever you want to call it. It might come down to that, and obviously as a football fan, if you're a neutral football fan, that's as exciting as it gets. The old guard taking on the new guard trying to take away the division title from the old guard trying to announce themselves that, we're still the team to beat in the NFC West, and we're still the best. I'm excited, and hopefully, as a 49 fan, hopefully it doesn't come down to that. Hopefully we have it wrapped up before then, but it's looking like that might be a real possibility. And I think the NFC West is really wide open. In terms of winning it, though, I do think the 49ers are still the favorites, but it could get tricky because the 49ers have a difficult record, and Arizona's playing good football this season. I think the Rams could be in there for that as well. I don't think Seattle. I think Seattle's a class below. I don't believe in their quarterback. I don't believe. What I do with the other three teams is I do to a certain extent believe in Kyler Murray. I definitely believe in Matthew Stafford, and I believe in Brock Purdy as well. And I believe in the head coaches of those three teams. I think what Gannon has done with the Arizona Cardinals, coming from Philadelphia. Look, I didn't think he was a good hire at first, but he's changing the culture of that Cardinals team There's not much else to add about Sean McVay. Kyle Shanahan, yes, there's the negatives of him, but he's still able to, it's late game situations in the playoffs where, you can do your questioning. Not in terms of competing and winning the NFC West. He's done that almost religiously for the last few years now. So, yeah, I think the NFC West is might come down to the wire, and probably the most interesting division in football. We thought we might get that with the NFC North, which has been really, really interesting in terms of the front three teams. But I think Chicago Bears are falling apart, and I think it's pretty clear that all three of those teams will be in the playoffs. With the NFC West, it's tricky because you probably could have max 2 playoff teams. So these games are going to be very, very, very important. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to the USMNT's victory over Jamaica in the Nations League quarterfinal. Before the break, we discussed the favorites in this extremely tight NFC West. We move on to react to the U.S. men's national team victory over Jamaica in the Nations League quarterfinal. Early goal from Ricardo Pepi in the 5th minute was enough for the USMNT to get the victory in a game that required a lot of, grit and mental resilience. Playing at the national stadium in Independence Park in Jamaica can be a difficult atmosphere to play in. It's never easy to play away in CONCACAF, even with the quality of this current U.S. men's national team. Playing away in CONCACAF is very, very difficult. They make it difficult for you. That grass, I guess you can say it's part of football, these tactics that they purposely allowed the grass to grow a little bit, a little bit larger to make a little bit higher to make the ball not roll, to make the game a little bit more, more dry and more slow, and make it easier for Jamaica to press and win the ball off the U.S. men's national team player, because they don't have that crispness of being able to play out with it. And I don't know what people think about those tactics, if they think that's part of the game, part of the spirit of the game and all that. But it did affect the way that the U.S. played. Early on, the U.S. struggled. Jamaica was pressing. They won the ball up high a few times, but then once U.S. was able to get out of that line of pressure in that first half, they had some opportunity and space, because the space in between the first line of pressure and the defense, there was a lot of space in there. When players like Pulisic and Pepe and McKinney was able to pick up the balls in those spaces, they were able to have a lot of space to find players running in behind, or to be able to drive the ball up. And it's early on. Now in the second half, the game became very slowed and dried up, and we didn't see much of that at all. But early on, the goal was created from Ricardo Pepi. Anthony Robinson had a really, really good chance as well. Pulisic playing in the ball was a little bit behind them, because guess what? The grass, and it ended up leading to a save from Blake. And then there was a big moment that came, a nice bit of skill with Shamar Nicholson being able to turn to Mareem and then getting a little bit of a lucky deflection back to him after, in my opinion, extremely poor defending by Mark McKenzie, and then eventually led to Matt Turner coming out and catching Shamar Nicholson, leading to a penalty. DeMar Gray steps up, and Matt Turner pays them. Matt Turner redeems his mistake of conceding that penalty and makes a really, really good save. And it was an important save in that one because, well, the U.S. hung down with that goal to get the victory. And it's a very important because I thought this would be very difficult for the U.S. with the amount of players missing. But now you take a 1-0 lead back to St. Louis. It doesn't get much more perfect than that, you know. It's playing away in CONCACAF is difficult, and for me, as a U.S. men's national team fan, for me, the a perfect scenario would have been entering that St. Louis game level, but the fact that you can carry a goal lead there is perfect. Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for more content and updates. We really could not do what we do without your amazing support, and we're extremely grateful to have you as part of our community. Thank you guys. Like and subscribe, and see ya.
Let's go. I wake up to